The revelation of hidden strength often shakes the world, not only because of the power itself, but because of the timing of its unveiling. When the world heard about India's secret nuclear power, there was a collective pause, a silence filled with awe, caution, and 1,000 questions. It was not simply about weapons or energy, it was about a nation long underestimated, a civilization often misjudged, now stepping forward with quiet authority. For decades, India had been known for its vibrant culture, its philosophical depth, and its resilience in the face of colonial and modern challenges. Yet in the shadow of progress, something was being built with precision and vision, a capability that did not need constant broadcasting. Unlike many nations that thrive on outward display, India was patient, strategic, and restrained. The revelation of nuclear power was not an act of arrogance. It was an announcement of sovereignty, a reminder that strength kept in silence can sometimes be more formidable than strength shouted from rooftops. The shock in America was less about surprise and more about reflection. Here was a nation with 1 billion people, an ancient history, and a rapidly growing economy, suddenly revealing a capability that could alter global balances. For America, long accustomed to being the central force in international power structures, this was a reminder that the world is no longer a one-player game. Others are rising, quietly, steadily, and with a determination that cannot be ignored. Jordan Peterson often speaks about responsibility, about standing tall in the chaos of life and shouldering burdens with dignity. India's revelation can be seen in this light. It was not an act of aggression, but a statement of maturity. We are here, we are capable, and we will carry our responsibility. Nuclear power, when revealed with restraint, symbolizes more than destruction. It symbolizes the ability to protect, to sustain, and to command respect. To understand the depth of this moment, one must look at history. India is not new to the idea of hidden strength. Ancient texts spoke of cosmic energies, of harnessing forces unseen, of the marriage between science and philosophy. In the modern age, however, the world often painted India as developing, struggling, and dependent. But beneath those labels, there was an unbroken will to rise. The nuclear revelation shattered those old perceptions. Suddenly, the narrative was no longer about survival. It was about influence, capability, and vision. The American reaction was layered. On one hand, there was admiration, respect for the brilliance, patience, and discipline it took to build such power in silence. On the other hand, there was unease, an awareness that power dynamics were shifting and alliances would need to be reconsidered. Yet beyond the political and military implications, there was also something philosophical. America has always prided itself on being a symbol of liberty and leadership. Now it was confronted with a nation that had chosen a different path. Progress with humility, achievement without constant proclamation. Jordan Peterson often highlights that greatness is not found in constant display but in disciplined mastery of self. India embodied this principle. To build in silence, to withstand doubt, and to reveal strength only when necessary requires extraordinary patience. It reflects the principle of delayed gratification, the wisdom to forego immediate recognition in order to prepare for a greater future. For the young generation, especially those in India, this revelation is more than politics. It is a lesson. It teaches that identity is not defined by how others perceive you, but by what you cultivate in silence. The world may underestimate you, dismiss you, or label you, but if you remain focused, disciplined, and purposeful, the day will come when the truth of your strength will reveal itself naturally. The reaction across the globe reflected this truth. Nations began recalculating strategies, industries reconsidered partnerships, and thinkers reflected on the deeper meaning of India's rise. For America, the shock was not about losing dominance, but about recognizing that a multipolar world was forming, one where strength is distributed, where voices from different corners must be acknowledged. This realization is not a threat, but an invitation to cooperation, to shared responsibility, and to mutual respect. At the personal level, Peterson's philosophy ties in beautifully. Every individual holds hidden power, capabilities they have not yet tapped into, strengths that lie beneath fear and doubt. Most people live as if they are powerless, waiting for someone else to rescue them. But what if, like India, they cultivated silently? What if, instead of shouting for recognition, they built themselves in quiet determination, educating their mind, disciplining their habits, strengthening their character? One day, when revealed, their strength would shock not only others, but themselves. The true story here is not about nuclear science alone. It is about the psychology of hidden potential. Nations, like individuals, are often underestimated, but when discipline, vision, and resilience align, hidden power becomes unstoppable. For India, this was a national revelation. For individuals, it can be a personal one. In moments like these, America's shock becomes symbolic. It represents the moment others finally see the truth you always knew was within you. When the mask of underestimation falls, when the labels of weakness dissolve, when the hidden effort finally becomes visible, this is the moment of transformation. And while it may shock the world, it should not shock you, because you always knew what you were capable of. As Jordan Peterson says, the path to greatness is not about shouting your strength, but about carrying your responsibility step by step until your character becomes unshakable. India's revelation mirrors this principle. It is not about threatening others, but about standing firm in your place, ready to defend, ready to contribute, and ready to rise. The lesson for every listener is simple: you have hidden power. It may not be nuclear, but it is no less transformative. It lies in your discipline, your vision, your perseverance. Build it in silence. Cultivate it with patience. One day, the world will be shocked at the strength you reveal. The revelation of India's nuclear power was not just a political headline, it was a philosophical earthquake. For decades, the world assumed it knew the measure of India, a nation of immense diversity, cultural wealth, and growing technology. Yet the hidden strength unveiled spoke of something greater. It showed that true power is not always displayed in open fields, but often nurtured in silence, guarded with patience, and released only at the right time. America's shock was genuine, not because power itself was unfamiliar, but because it was revealed from a place where many never expected it. This moment holds lessons, not just for nations, but for individuals navigating their own journey. Jordan Peterson often speaks of the unseen battles we fight, the internal struggles of discipline, the quiet wars of character, the resistance against chaos that no one else notices. India's hidden capability mirrored this principle. The world cannot always see the struggle, but the fruit of discipline eventually speaks for itself. Consider what it means for a nation to cultivate power and secrecy. It is the practice of restraint, of choosing not to announce every victory, but to allow those victories to mature in silence. This mirrors the life of any person striving toward greatness. Imagine the student working quietly while others doubt him. Imagine the worker refining skills while the world looks elsewhere. Imagine the thinker wrestling with questions no one else dares to touch. Their growth is invisible until one day it bursts forth, undeniable. For America, this revelation was more than strategic concern. It was a reminder that the age of sole dominance was over. The stage of the world now belongs to multiple actors, each carrying its own strength, history, and vision. This truth unsettles those who cling to singular leadership, but it also liberates those who believe in balance. A world with multiple voices may be more complex, but it is also more resilient. Peterson often emphasizes the importance of responsibility over dominance. Power without responsibility leads to chaos, but responsibility without power leads to vulnerability. India's revelation represents the balanced strength that is held not for pride but for duty. In the same way, individuals must seek this balance. Having potential is not enough. It must be tied to responsibility. Having dreams is not enough. They must be tied to discipline. What shook observers most was not simply the technology, but the philosophy behind it. India did not reveal its hand out of desperation. It waited until the timing was right, until the ground was steady. This shows the value of timing in life. Too often, people rush to display their abilities prematurely, seeking recognition before mastery. But wisdom says, wait until your strength is undeniable, until no one can dismiss it, until the revelation itself becomes a moment of transformation. History reminds us that civilizations rise not merely because of armies or weapons, but because of the strength of will, the resilience of culture, and the discipline of their people. India's step into the nuclear sphere is not an isolated act. It is part of a long story of endurance and vision. The lesson for individuals is clear. Your hidden strength is part of your long story. It is not measured in quick victories, but in the steady unfolding of your character. America's shock also reveals a subtle truth. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is surprise those who underestimated you. The world often forms opinions too quickly. Nations are labeled. People are categorized, and identities are fixed by others' assumptions. But when you cultivate your strength in silence, you eventually break those labels. The surprise becomes your weapon, not to humiliate others, but to awaken them to a new reality. Jordan Peterson often warns against becoming trapped in resentment when underestimated. Instead, he teaches that you must channel that energy into building yourself. India's revelation is a perfect example. Rather than reacting with bitterness to being underestimated, it chose the higher path, patient building. This is what every individual can do. When people doubt you, do not waste your energy trying to convince them. Use that energy to grow, so that one day the truth of your strength speaks louder than any argument. In the shock that followed India's revelation, one can see both fear and admiration. Fear because hidden strength challenges existing systems. Admiration because hidden strength inspires respect. For you personally, when you reveal your hidden strength, some will respond with caution, others with applause. Both are natural, but your task is not to seek either. It is to walk the path of responsibility, to carry your strength with dignity. There is also a deeper, almost spiritual dimension to this moment. Ancient Indian philosophy often spoke of energies hidden within the human being, forces that lie dormant until awakened through discipline. The nuclear revelation can be seen as a symbol of this inner truth. Just as a nation can awaken hidden power, so too can a person awaken inner strength. The potential within you is not limited by how the world sees you. It is defined by how deeply you are willing to discipline yourself, how patiently you are willing to build, and how courageously you are willing to reveal it when the time comes. America's shock, then, is more than geopolitical, it is psychological. It reflects the universal human experience of underestimating others. How often do we misjudge those around us? How often do we dismiss the quiet ones, the underestimated ones, the ones who do not flaunt their abilities? Yet time and again, history proves that those who build in silence often rise with the greatest strength. For the listener today, this moment is a mirror. Ask yourself, what hidden strength lies within me? What am I building in silence? Am I too eager for recognition, or am I patiently preparing for the right moment? Like India, you may not need to announce your progress at every step. The day will come when your hidden power reveals itself, not through loud declaration, but through undeniable reality. The world was shocked because India's revelation did not fit the expected script. It broke assumptions and demanded a new perspective. In your own life, when you reveal your true strength, some will be shocked too. Do not fear that reaction. Let it serve as confirmation that you have transcended the old labels, that you have grown beyond what they imagined. Peterson reminds us that life's meaning is found not in ease, but in the responsibility we willingly embrace. India embraced the responsibility of safeguarding its future, of standing with dignity among nations. You too are called to embrace responsibility, not to seek recognition, but to prepare yourself for the moment when your hidden strength must be revealed. The revelation of India's nuclear power is more than news. It is a metaphor for the human journey to cultivate in silence, to grow with discipline, and to reveal your strength when the world least expects it. America's shock is simply the echo of a truth we all must learn. Hidden power, when revealed at the right time, changes everything. When hidden strength finally comes into the light, it does more than alter strategies, it alters identities. The moment India's secret nuclear power was revealed, it was not just the unveiling of technology, it was the unveiling of a new self-image for a nation and a new perspective for the world. America's shock echoed across continents. But behind the surprise was something deeper, a recognition that the underestimated had risen, and that the quiet player had entered the stage with undeniable authority. Jordan Peterson often speaks about order and chaos, about the need to balance structure with risk, discipline with courage. India's revelation represents this balance on a grand scale. To hold such power quietly required immense order, discipline, patience, control. To reveal it required courage, the willingness to disrupt assumptions, to risk misunderstanding, and to step into a larger role. For individuals, the same pattern applies. Your hidden strength grows in order, but it is revealed through courage. Without discipline, you cannot build it. Without courage, you cannot show it. America's shock was not simply about being surprised. It was about realizing that a new chapter in global power had begun. The world order thrives on predictability. Nations that rise too quickly unsettle the balance. Just as individuals who suddenly revealed their brilliance unsettle those who doubted them. But this disruption is not chaos in the negative sense. It is the necessary chaos that forces growth, the kind that compels others to adapt, to rethink, to move forward. In personal life, there comes a moment when your hidden strength must be revealed. Perhaps you have studied quietly, trained silently, or worked tirelessly in the shadows. Then suddenly an opportunity arises. The world expects little from you, yet you deliver something undeniable. That moment shocks those around you, but it also frees you. It frees you from the weight of being underestimated and places you firmly in the reality of your true capacity. India's journey to this moment reflects the long arc of resilience. A nation often described through poverty, struggle, and dependence now showed the fruit of vision, perseverance, and intelligence. The world was forced to look again, to rewrite its assumptions. For the individual, this is the same process. Others may know you only through your past struggles. They may define you by what you lacked. But when you reveal your cultivated strength, they are forced to see you anew. That shock is not something to fear. It is something to embrace, for it means you have transcended the old narrative. Peterson teaches that responsibility is the foundation of true meaning. India did not reveal its nuclear power merely to impress. It did so to declare responsibility, to protect, to defend, to assert sovereignty. Likewise, when you reveal your inner power, it should not be for vanity. It should be tied to purpose. Your strength must serve responsibility, not ego. Without responsibility, power corrupts. With responsibility, power uplifts. What makes this revelation inspiring is not the weapon itself, but the principle behind it. The principle that you can be underestimated for years, ignored, or dismissed, and yet, if you keep building, one day your work will force the world to see you differently. In that moment, silence becomes your greatest strategy, patience your greatest ally, and discipline your greatest weapon. America's shock carried another lesson. Never assume you know the full measure of another's strength. Too often we reduce people to labels, nations to stereotypes, and ourselves to past mistakes. But hidden within every person, every community, and every culture lies potential unseen. The revelation of that potential humbles the arrogant and awakens the hopeful. For those listening today, let this serve as a call. Your hidden strength, whether it is creativity, intelligence, resilience, or leadership, must not be wasted. Do not squander it on constant display for shallow recognition. Instead, cultivate it deeply, steadily, and silently. When the right time comes, reveal it with dignity. Let the world be shocked if it must, but let the revelation bring transformation, not destruction. India's journey also teaches the value of legacy. This revelation was not the work of one year or one leader. It was the fruit of decades of persistence across generations. In the same way, your hidden strength is not the result of a single moment, but of years of small decisions. Every day you choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, purpose over ease. You are laying the foundation for a revelation that may one day change your life. Peterson often urges individuals to carry the heaviest responsibility they can. India carried the burden of being underestimated, of building without recognition, of proving itself without constant applause. That burden shaped its discipline. In your life, burdens can do the same. Do not resent the weight you carry. Use it to forge your strength. For when the day of revelation comes, it will be that very weight that has made you unshakable. America's shock will fade into history, but the lesson endures. Hidden power cannot remain hidden forever. It emerges at the right time, altering everything around it. For you, the challenge is to cultivate your hidden power so that when the moment arrives, you can step into it without hesitation. The greatest danger is not being underestimated. It is underestimating yourself. Too many people believe the labels placed on them, the doubts spoken about them, the past failures that haunt them. But India's revelation proves that the narrative others impose is not final. What you build in silence, what you nurture in discipline, and what you reveal with courage, these define your future, not the voices of doubt. As you reflect on this story, remember, the shock of revelation is not the end, but the beginning. For India, it marked a new role in the global order. For you, your moment of revealing hidden strength will mark a new chapter in your personal order, a chance to rise above old patterns, old doubts, and old identities. Peterson would remind us that life's meaning lies in rising to our potential, not shrinking from it. The path is not easy, but it is worth it. India's revelation was decades in the making. Your revelation may also take years, but do not be discouraged by the time. Every day you spend building silently brings you closer to the moment when your strength will no longer be hidden. And when that moment comes, the world may be shocked, but you will not be, because you always knew what you were becoming.